Hey there, get behind the 8 ball to supersize your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and our idiom today is behind the 8 ball. Why on earth would I say get behind the 8 ball to supersize our business? Behind the 8 ball is an American idiom and an expression from the early 1900s, of course from billiards, from the game of pool, 8 ball. Actually, there was a game called Kelly Pool, and I'm sure there still is. I'm sure people still play it. I think I remember playing it with my husband when we were dating. And what you would do is you would shoot the balls in the pockets in numerical order, skipping over the 8 ball, of course, shooting the 8 ball in last. So if you happen to get your balls in a position on the table where the ball you needed to shoot in the pocket was behind the 8 ball, chances are you were in big trouble, and the probability of winning the game was slim to none, especially if you're playing with my ex-husband, because he was an incredible pool player, and I, not so much. So what does this mean? What does this mean to us? How can we use this now in our businesses? And why the heck would we want to be at a disadvantage in order to build and grow our business? And we'll talk about that. What are some other idioms that mean in trouble? This idiom means in trouble, in hot water, in a pickle, up a creek, in a pretty kettle of fish. I say SOL. When I'm in trouble, or I feel like I'm in a bad position where I don't have much chance of winning, or I'm not where I want to be, it's usually not where I want to be with respect to some area or aspect of my business. Maybe it's financially, maybe it's with partners, maybe it's with resources, maybe it's with raw materials, depending on the type of business I'm in. It's different for each of the different businesses that I've been involved in, and it's probably different for yours. Let me ask you a question. How many of you are finding yourself and feeling like you are behind the 8 ball because of the changes that have happened in our world this year as a result of the pandemic, COVID-19? Has your business, has your life, has your finances, have your relationships, has any area of your life been upended or changed from what you expected it to be, say February, March, beginning of March, first week of March to the second week of March was like night and day in my life and in my world. And why I say and why I contend and why I fully believe that being behind the 8 ball is a great position to be in for several reasons. Number one, it's all about our perspective, right? If we think we're in trouble, if we think we're not where we should be, guess what? That drives us, that motivates us to make a change. We don't change when everything's smoking along and going hunky-dory fine. We change when we're challenged. Ever seen any great movie? Every great movie has some sort of conflict in it. Think of any movie that you've loved. Every movie has some kind of a conflict. You meet your hero, they have a conflict, they go on a journey, they transform and transition. It's the story of all stories. It's the story of every great movie. It's the story of the great adventures of our lives, of our businesses. And isn't creating and supersizing your business a great adventure? Of course it is. So it's all about our perspective and how we are feeling and experiencing the situation. And human beings are not driven by desire alone. We're driven by desire and the things that we want. We go for the things that we want, but we will do way more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. We will do way more to protect what we've already got. That's why the whole insurance industry exists, right? We are wanting to save and preserve and protect what we have. That's why banks exist, right? And financial institutions, to protect what we have than to gain more. That's just the way we operate as human beings. So if we find ourselves behind the 8 ball, what do? Number one, we realize that it's just the current situation, that it's a matter of our perspective, our beliefs, our way of looking at the situation that matters most, and that if we choose to change it and to go for what we want, we'll have the motivation, the drive to actually do that. It'll keep us going. It'll keep us trying new things. It will keep us moving forward in our business. When you're the underdog in a business, which is another way of being behind the 8 ball in our own imagination, that's when people underestimate what you're capable of. That's when you can be fast and agile and make decisions and choices and moves that other people, bigger players in the industry, just can't make. The bigger an organization gets, the harder it is for them to accomplish, do, change anything. Why do I say that? From vast amounts of experience working in giant global organizations versus working in smaller, more agile, family-run and owned and operated organizations. Both really, really big, hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollar companies. and the structure and the hierarchy and the systems and the way things are done in those organizations, and the time it takes from idea to actual realization of that idea. The bigger the organization, the longer that takes. The more people involved in a decision, the longer that takes. So how do you use being behind the 8 ball in your favor? Use it as a motivating driving force to go from where you are to where you want to be. And if you do that and you keep going and you keep moving forward and you keep plugging away, no matter how bad you think your situation is, it's just temporary. Everything changes all the time. The economy changes, the environment changes, corporate America changes. I remember being sick in college and thinking that my life and the world was passing me by because all my friends were graduating, getting awesome jobs, starting their careers, starting their families, and incredible relationships, and I was bedridden. And I spent a lot of time and a lot of energy, and wasted a lot of time and a lot of energy feeling sorry for myself, feeling like I was a victim, wondering why me. And it wasn't until I shifted that perspective and decided that that wasn't the situation I wanted to stay in, and that the only way that was going to change was because of the pain that I was in and feeling that loss, that fear of missing out, that fear of not really achieving or being or doing or having what I wanted in my life happening, that drove me to find my own solutions and to get out of that bed. Felt that way in corporate America when I've lost jobs or when I've changed careers or changed industries. So often when I would enter a new industry, I would feel like I was so behind the 8 ball, not knowing all of the vast things and vast amounts of knowledge that everybody else in that business or that company or that industry knew. But guess what? That was the driving force, that feeling of I wanted to contribute at my highest level, but I didn't feel like I had the knowledge or wisdom. That's what drove me to get the knowledge and the information and the skills that I needed to succeed in that environment. So the pain and the fear of not achieving my goals and objectives, the fear of missing out, the fear of being left behind is an incredibly powerful motivator. All right, that's it. Love to know your experience with the expression behind the 8 ball. Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt like one of the other ways of describing being in trouble, being in a bad situation? And guess what? A situation is just a situation. We define whether it's good or bad. As long as we remember that we define everything, we have control of everything, it gives us a position it puts us in a position of power to change whatever it is that we want. All right, have an absolutely amazing day. I will be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? And how can you use it in your business right now?